All right, let's call to order. This is going to be the City of Port Richey Community Redevelopment Agency Board meeting for Tuesday, June 28th. At this time, let's stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again.
Roll call, please.
Yes, good evening, Board. This is Sally Carey, Operations Manager, filling in for City Clerk Ashley McDonough. I'll be doing the roll. Chairman Scott Tremblay.
Here.
Member Tom Kinsella.
Here.
Member Todd McClary.
Here.
Member Linda Rodriguez.
Here.
Member Bill Colombo.
Here.
City Attorney James Matthew.
Here.
City Manager John Dew.
Here. Looking for a motion to approve the board minutes.
Approve board minutes. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're going to open up to commentary from the general public, and there's nobody from the general public here. Just for the record, so we're going to move on to commentary from city management, if any.
Nothing to add, Mr. Chairman.
And any comments with business here. There's a consent agenda that was moved, I think, from 2 weeks ago, which was for air services, looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to board business. I'm going to pass that to Mr. Dude. It's going to be Restore Act Waterfront Improvement Project, Second Amendment, and that's going to go to Mr. Dude.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's been several weeks that this board discussed the idea of revisiting the multi-year plan that the CRA and the city have with the county. The county's multi-year plan is then what was and will be submitted back to Treasury for their consideration. So as you see in your packet, Ms. Lynch has done a good job of laying out the history, so you know kind of where we've come from. Right now, the multi-year plan that the Port Richey CRA has includes both dredging and waterfront enhancements. My words, not the plan's words. The question that was brought up several weeks ago was, would we like to rewrite the plan, resubmit the plan to the county to include only waterfront improvements, streets, lights, landscaping, and so on. And so that's the discussion. My hope is from the discussion, I've got direction on whether we leave the plan as it is, or Pam and I rewrite the plan, bring it back to you for consideration, and if it suits you, then we would submit it back to the county for inclusion in their multi-year plan.
Redone it, resubmitted it. So.
One of the questions I had from a practical matter is the money that we wanted at this point want to use, the Restore Act money, is to go into our already existing waterfront overlay district project that we have that's ongoing. Right now we have $667,000 approximately tied up. The question is, can we spend that whether or not we're approved for this in that project? And if we spend it and they reimburse us, great. If they don't, then the money's spent and we're done. In other words, does this slow us down? Or can we start to consider this money towards the project that's already existing? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. I think there's a question of if and when your Treasury approval comes through for the multi-year plan that the county has submitted or will submit. If that comes through, even if you get it approved, are you then ready to take on the possibility of not only spending the $600,000, but whatever more has to go with it to satisfy a contractor? I just can't imagine that the contractor is going to agree to do the project for something he bid on a year and a half ago. So I think that maybe that helps make the decision whether you actually want to leave the plan as it is or drop the dredging from the plan.
Well, can we just simply disengage from the original contract, or what's the process for that?
You haven't awarded, if you're asking me,
Yes.
Scott, you haven't awarded it, you haven't notified the contractor to proceed. It's been probably 2 years now, so. And Mr. Grubbs, I believe was his name. And so you haven't awarded it to him. You voted to do it, but pending. You know, I'm sorry, you didn't even vote to do it because we never got approval from the Restore Act. Or
So we don't have a pending contract?
we have nothing
like
yes,
that?
we have
Okay.
nothing.
That's all I was getting at.
Yeah, we don't
Okay.
have anything.
We have a bid.
So we can set aside that bid at this point, under the circumstances, and
I'm sure he would at this point too.
what's that?
I'm sure he would at this point too.
And just repurpose the money.
That would be my understanding of what we're doing
Okay.
here. You know.
Right.
The original plan was dredge, waterfront district, boat ramps. That was the original plan. Boat ramps got dropped a long time ago in the minds of the city council, but never got really officially dropped. But, you know, the Pot 1 money was always intended to go towards working waterfront, and that's our working waterfront right there, so.
So the next step, we have the 667 that we've earmarked. Originally it was for dredging. We're gonna repurpose it to the waterfront overlay district project that we have now. My question is, can we spend that at this point?
I can answer that question.
You know where I'm going.
I know the question is, it's a reimbursable grant, for the lack of a better word. The reason we kept the money is $667,000 is a lot of money. So if they let us know last week and said proceed, we went to the contractor, proceed, we'd have to pay out of our pocket $667,000. We'd have to have that money. Okay, we would get it back. All right. So now, if you're going to pick a different project, really nothing's changed. Because now you're going to do a different project. Number one, you're going to have to say, well, you're going to credit us for the $333,000 we already spent over here, so we can just do this. I don't know. Okay, it sounds like they might, but they've told us for 6 years, so who knows what is going to happen. So if you're serious about this, then you need to keep the money because it's still a reimbursement. Right.
Right, but if we're gonna ask to do what we're already doing, we spend it,
Well, you have to get
because it's
the permission
reimbursable.
first.
The only downside is they don't pay us back, correct?
That's the same.
Yeah,
That's the downside now.
Yeah, the downside
Nothing's
is,
changed, right? Nothing's changed.
Right, nothing's changed. You know, what you're doing, you're doing.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
so if you get money back, you know, that's what you want to do. If you don't, well, you're doing it anyway.
Yeah, so if you're planning on doing this anyway, then yeah, then that's the issue.
So,
I have, oh, go ahead.
so no, to me, it makes sense to proceed in that manner, because otherwise that money's just gonna sit there unused.
Or to redo the plan or to follow the existing plan?
No, redo the plan,
Okay.
and then we're gonna spend it anyways, and if they reimburse us,
You're
right?
essentially dropping the dredging from the plan is what you're doing. Now,
Sure.
and putting money into lights and all that stuff in waterfront district
Was always the
in the
residual plan
Was always
anyways.
in the plan to begin with.
Right, sure. That was a residual.
Just back then, the idea was we could dredge, you know, channel 19, 18, 26A and 1, and build boat ramps and redo the waterfront district. We were gonna do all that with $1.1 million. Well, no, or 999, whatever it was, you know.
Can I ask one question? What you're doing here is things you're gonna do with the CRA, that's different. See, these things that you're planning on doing is CRA money.
Right.
Okay, are they gonna do it that way? Will they reimburse the CRA?
Procedurally, I don't know. That's why I was asking this question.
I have no idea whether they could do that.
Well,
It was the applicant that was awarded it, the Restore Act 2 of 38, my understanding, is the city of Port Richey, not the
But that's-
CRA. CRA is the county's own money coming back to
Jim, as
us.
I recall, the money that was spent on 19, the DMMA site and the fence was CRA.
Was CRA money, correct.
We always proceeded under, the city always proceeded under the
I realize that.
illusion, if it was,
Right.
whatever, that it was CRA money that was gonna pay for it up front.
Right.
We were gonna get
That's correct.
reimbursed.
That's correct. I'm just telling you that, you know.
I have a separate question.
Yeah.
Let's say we proceed and reassign these money and only do the sidewalks and everything. We now have an acre and a half of land with a big pile of dirt and a nice pretty PVC fence around it. What do we do with it then?
Well, we still have to get that fill out of there, no matter
Well,
what.
that was gonna be the next issue that's gonna break, because we still have to deal with that. And we wanna do that, try and do that with this pot of money, to tie up the loose ends in the old project and then move on to the new one, because the 337 that we spent didn't dispose of all the waste. It's still sitting there.
You got
Right, so-
another probably, I mean, from the pricing I saw, almost $300,000 in getting rid of the old dirt, assuming it's
And I
contaminated.
don't know if the dredge material was ever actually tested to where we know exactly what we need to do. The city was going under the presumption that that wasn't that contaminated and it would have to go into a line.
Right.
That was tested, and that was the case, and it's half that figure, because that figure includes emptying it, in other words, taking it out and then putting it in and emptying it, that's twice.
Okay, so it's $150,000.
It's about $160,000, it definitely has to go to the rest of the landfill, we tested it.
Yeah, okay.
So,
I didn't know the actual.
anything we do, we gotta clean up that mess for lack of a
160
better-
grand worth.
It has to be done.
It has to be done.
It has to be done. Yeah. It just has.
And then what we do with the property is.
We could sell
what we
it.
decide-
We could
Yeah,
turn
we
it
can
into
sell
water.
it,
We could do
or
it
you could sell it as it is and let the next person deal with it.
And put up another mobile home.
Build a mayor's mansion.
That's a great idea.
The CRA, there you go.
City council.
That'll go great in the next audit.
Yep. Do a little bloody.
City council
We'll
executive.
let John defend that one.
You'll definitely not get
Executive
that
don't
one.
have anything to do.
Okay,
That
so,
was said in jest, just for the record.
Okay, so
so, we want to repurpose the 667. We want to rewrite the plan to exclude the dredging, correct?
Do we need to include the cleanup though in?
Well, that's what, but we need, I think we need to include into the new plan, because that is part of dredging, because we dredged that and put that there, right? So, I mean, that's 150, 60, whatever it is, $1,000 to get that taken care of. So that needs to be taken care of, because we need to take care of that anyway.
So that leaves us with a $500,000 for the lighting and whatever else down there.
Now, Nick's Park, the boat ramp needs to be redone, correct? We've talked about that numerous times. We never had any money. That is in the Cody River Landing area.
Well, it was like FERDAP grants or something.
We actually had a grant lined up that's probably still available. It was an FWC grant, and it was a matching grant, 50/50. And what happened is they said they would pay, at the time, if you guys go back, I think it was 150 or 175, and we would pay 150 or 175, and then for that amount, we should be able to.
Is that something that gets pursued in this, or is that a separate?
That was not through CRA. That was through I think that was through our general funds on a matching grant. I don't think they were using CRA.
Okay, so that's not appropriate here, but that would be appropriate for council meeting.
And it was an FWC grant, matching grant, 50/50. So we may want to see if that's still on the
I
table.
mean, we're working with the whole Cody River Landing area, and we know that the boat ramp is very important to many people, so, can we at least look into that again, Mr. Duke?
Yeah, I'll check with FWC.
And what happened when we went out to bid, I remember the bids came in a little bit higher, but there weren't a lot of bidders either at the time. There just wasn't much interest in coming to work in Port Richey. And I'm sure that a lot of companies turned on the news and saw what was going on and just decided that, maybe we'll just move on past that project. Yeah. So, but we're kind of past that now, so we may be able to get some
And we're
bidders.
revitalizing the whole area, so that would fit right into the whole, make it look nice area.
So do we need to vote on, is this an action item or?
I think by consensus, what I'm looking for is direction. Do you want me to rewrite the plan and bring it back, or do you want me to leave the plan like it is?
I think we need to rewrite it, like.
Yeah, I would go for rewriting the plan, present it to us and see, go from there.
I think we should rewrite the plan with the intent that we're gonna spend it anyways, and if we get
Yes.
reimbursed, great.
Yeah.
Sure.
Can I state one thing? They do these in categories,
Okay?
and maybe you want to call the county first, because if you say, well, we'd like to rewrite it and spend $160,000 towards removing that,
Mhm.
that's a category of dredging, where I think what the county wants is to get out of the dredging and into helping businesses or whatever.
Right.
Okay,
Well,
there are
what-
categories, right? Is that correct? That's where this
Yeah.
is going. I don't think that would fly, to be honest, Ed, but you could ask.
Even though we're, you know, it's like we went 1 to 9, but we didn't finish step 10. This was only, and this is not to proceed, this is just to finish at the beginning.
We've done everything we're supposed to do, and we've been sitting 6 years. There's no justice here at all.
Right, no, I understand that.
We eliminate all references to dredging on it. We spend the 160 anyway. If they do reimburse us, then we only gotta come up with 160 instead of, an additional 160, instead of
Well, they're not gonna reimburse you unless it's in the
No,
plan.
can I make a suggestion that we put all 667 into lighting, sidewalks, whatever, and then we spend 160 ourselves from that application
Yeah.
to clean up the
You can
site?
call first and
That's
ask
fine.
him, but I don't think they're gonna do that. I understand the logic behind it. Why don't you call, John can call first and ask them.
Yeah, because the Restore Act went off,
Do that, yeah.
the Restore Act went off of a point system, and the higher points were actually for the safety stuff, sidewalks, lighting, the stuff that we're doing. So we're gonna come in a lot higher rating wise if we do it that way and take the dredging out of it. That's what dropped our rating.
Well, I mean, the other thing too is,
Honestly,
we have essentially a degree of somewhat hazardous dredge material there and sitting on a piece of property in somebody's city, and if that ain't blight, I ain't never seen it, so it's spending that out of CRA money makes all the sense in the world.
It's environmental
Nice white
housing, I would
PVC
think.
fence around.
Well, we could
It keeps the
probably,
bugs in.
we could put the PVC fence on Facebook Marketplace.
There you go.
Probably for a few.
We'll make some money off of it.
So I think to clarify, the plan is to keep the 667
Even
in
sell
the
it.
application. We'll deal with the 160 separate.
I agree. Frame it.
Consensus, we're good?
Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah, whatever you say.
Bill and I are selling the sign in front.
All right, any old
I
business?
totally agree.
Are you good? Good, okay.
I'm good.
I do have one question.
Yes.
If you can ask Chris, last time I asked him about if boats were in the street, was there enough room for cars to pass? So I just want to make sure that we get that information at some point.
Depends on the boat.
What?
Depends on the boat.
Depends on the boat. I'm going to give you a
Yeah, they're
boat.
dropping 35 footers in these days.
So, yeah, I just
Depends on the
wanted,
boat,
because
depends on
that's
the
still
car.
a contention with a lot of people.
The dually with the 35-foot boat and the 6 engines.
Yeah, that's all right, yeah.
Thank you.
Passing each other too. One going the wrong way.
Any old business?
That's all I have.
And a tractor trailer.
All right, looking for motion.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Third.
All right, and now we're to an executive session. Do we need a break for it?
Executive session?
We do.
Did you look
No
at your
one told
book?
me about an executive
They
session.
did. They let him look at your book.
Oh, damn it, you did.